There can be miracles when you believe. Sounds like the plot line or the tagline for Somewhere in Time, which I reviewed a little while ago as part of my Oscar season focus, where I was reviewing some films that had been nominated for Oscars that I'd never seen before. But that line could have totally been on the poster for Somewhere in Time because since he just wills himself into the past. Anyway, this is Prince of Egypt, the musical, which is redundant because Prince of Egypt was already a musical. So I don't know why we're calling it that. This is on Broadway HD. I haven't done a Broadway HD review in a while. I noticed that they have the Prince of Egypt live action, and that is the stage musical. Gotta find a better way of labeling this thing because the animated movie is a musical. That's a musical. It doesn't just lose musical status because it's animated. It has, I mean, they've added some songs. They've reshaped the story a little bit because it's a little bit longer. But it's still a musical. It does not have audio description. Shocker. Broadway HD doesn't have audio. Yeah, they don't have audio description. Apparently they do on two things, and I have not felt compelled to watch either Phantom of the Opera or is it Romeo and Juliet? Are like the two things they offer audio description on. So basically, if you're blind, you can get your just do like a free trial on Broadway HD and watch those things back to back. You never have to pay for a subscription. But if you're like me and you love musicals and you're here for this, honestly, I didn't have time in my day. And I did watch this, but like right after it, and when it was suggesting the next thing to go on to, I was like, is that on here? Do they have Cruel Intentions, the musical? It just said Cruel Intentions. So either they were going to push me into the movie, which actually would have been fine, I like that movie, or the musical, which I would have been deeply interested in to know that the Cruel Intentions musical has a filmed version available on Broadway HD. Something I'm definitely going to dive into. If you see me review again from Broadway HD, it's probably going to be Cruel Intentions, the musical, if that thing does exist. Prince of Egypt, we added some new music. We got some of the other stuff. They're really heavily using the theme from When You Believe is played gently throughout the score up until the point they actually sing it. It's just so you can remember what musical you're watching. Since when we watched the movie, I think if you ask, I don't know how many people rewatch Prince of Egypt over and over. I think it's a film that people are generally fond of, but I don't know that it's a deep classic. I've seen Prince of Egypt probably a couple of times, but not like an insane amount of times. There are some Disney films I've seen probably way too many times. But Prince of Egypt, I don't know, 3, maybe? I'd say 3, conservatively 3. So yeah, I'm familiar with the songs, and I did When You Believe back in my high school show choir. That's how old this thing is. And then I directed a music theater group, and I made them do When You Believe, and I was like, this is a full circle moment for me. This is an absolute full circle moment. I had to do this when I was in high school, and now I'm making you guys do it. So I have come full circle. I have evolved. I'm now the next level in Dragon Ball Z. Whatever. I'm Super Saiyan. Yeah, it's I don't even know where I'm at anymore. Prince of Egypt, it's the story. Moses, Ramses, brothers, but not. Just in case you didn't know. Spoiler warning. Hashtag spoiler warning. I'm so sorry. I forgot. I'm so sorry, guys. I forgot to give you a spoiler warning. I didn't know Moses and Ramses are not actually brothers. I know, this is coming as a shock to many of you, and will when it is presented in the musical, as it does to Moses. This actor playing Moses has never been more shocked to find out that Moses is not the real brother of Ramses than anyone, than probably real Moses. Moses was probably less shocked. This guy is, they have written Moses to where he gets devastated. We would Baker Act him, like, if this was in 2024. Like, people would be legitimately concerned for his well-being. They'd be like, are you okay? I mean, he convincingly says, I don't even know who I am. Okay. It's like a lot. He's so into like he's really playing at the shock value. I guess you have to when like the whole audience already knows the story and you have to pretend like you don't, you know? It's like, dude, it's fine. You know, a lot of people are adopted. I think a lot of people are being raised by parents. Even back then, I'm sure a lot of parents had babies that were not originally theirs. But, you know, due to famine and stuff like that, they're, you know, slavery, wars, locusts, I don't know, pick one. They probably ended up raising a kid that wasn't theirs. Like, would used to be a friend or a brother or sister or something like that. So, not shocking. He was not the first adopted kid in the entire universe. This is not a new concept where they're like, wait a minute, we can raise someone else's kid? I didn't know we could do that. You would think it was. You'd think the concept was just rocks his world. So yeah, he whatever. He just does his thing and he can't, you know, can't cope and leaves and follows the story of the Bible. Basically, that's Prince of Egypt. Did you read the Bible? Yes, you've read the Prince of Egypt. Now it has music. Now it has even more music than it had before. So, and of course, there's the whole "Let My People Go" thing that happens, and Moses and Ramses struggle. I did feel like maybe it was because the show lacked audio description. Maybe Ramses does a lot of stuff just like, and maybe a lot of emoting or like, you know, quietly. I didn't feel like this musical did a good enough job of selling Ramses' personality flip because he's so one way. They try to make it almost like the best thing I can compare it to is that I think Stephen Schwartz, I believe, wrote the music to Prince of Egypt. Also wrote the music to Wicked, where Glinda and Elphaba start out bitchy, and then they become like BFFs for life. And it kind of feels like he was trying to do like reverse Glinda, where he was selling us on this, you know, Ramses and Moses forever thing. And you know, Ramses was mad at his dad for things and felt like he was gonna do so, felt like they were gonna do interesting things with Ramses. And then he just I don't know, at some point in the show he just kind of becomes a douchebag because his brother like never came back and he's just angry. But they oversell it one way so much that when he just kind of pops up as a douchebag, you're just like, what happened? There was no there's no in between. You're just like it's like whiplash. So it's not the most well developed concept. That's why this musical has struggled to happen. This is I remember seeing, there used to be on YouTube, and I swear this exists, and they found out, and this is how I found out about it. Many moons ago, when everybody remembers Adam Lambert being on American Idol. I don't know if you yeah, I'm invoking American Idol in this review of Prince of Egypt for a reason. Adam Lambert was in a production of supposedly Prince of Egypt that Val Kilmer was in, that was somewhere, I don't know, back in the day. And there were videos online that you could catch of Adam Lambert in his like supporting role, where Val Kilmer was in it. Somebody realized they had it on camera and they uploaded, and I did see a little bit of something that appeared to be Prince of Egypt that clearly had Val Kilmer and Adam Lambert on stage together. It could have been it's most likely it was a workshop attempt at trying to make this a musical, and it just never happened. Feels like the kind of thing Adam would have been like a background character and or a supporting or smaller character, and Val would have been somebody who they would have brought in to try to help sell the musical concept so that people would want to buy it to send it to Broadway. But it languished and languished and languished, and finally came back around. And then they announced that they were doing it, and then they were like, "Oh my God, the entire cast is white," uh, and they canceled the show, and then they had to like recast it. So it's taken a while to get to any sort of performance quality level stage. Um, One of the things that I noticed is I was unsure of whether or not this was in front of a live audience, whether or not this was really filmed with people like in the audience, or they just happened to use the stage, because the audience is like really kind of quiet. Like nothing really works on them. You don't hear a lot of like laughter. But then like when you get to curtain call, like they're applauding. And they're not really applauding in the way that you get fans of musicals who know that they're also being taped, like where they're just like going nuts for certain cast members, just like they deeply love the musical. They just kind of are applauding. They're like, yeah, it's over. We're good now. Can, I think if I leave, I can, we can still get dinner on the way home. you know, It just like kind of like Moses gets like a lot of the guy playing Moses just gets a lot of praise, but that's it. This is just kind of I don't even think the audience really enjoyed this. This is all right. Um, and should you watch it without audio description? Um, this wasn't a lot of the new songs were okay. It wasn't anything that I outright hated. There wasn't a musical number that came in that I was like, wow, that was awful. Like Scuttlebutt in Little Mermaid, where you hear it immediately and you're like, I never want to hear that again in my life. Nothing like that. But there's a lot of forgettable music here and stuff that they try to play, that they do a reprise of. There's a song that Moses and Ramses sing that gets reprised, and I was like, this is not the most memorable song. Deliver Us works for people who think this is just a musical with When You Believe. I would say Deliver Us still is a really strong song. The little prayer thing that the mother sings or whatever is pretty. Yeah, there's a couple things in here that work, some things that don't. The performances are odd because they're not given enough depth. They still don't really fully know, is this a musical for kids? Is this a musical for grown-ups? How far do we go with this? Are we preaching? Are we not preaching? Is this a musical for everyone? Is this a musical for Christians? Who is this for? This musical never really seems to settle on a concept. I would say it doesn't feel overly preachy. It doesn't feel like that this is like a Bible musical. It just happens to be about biblical things. I think they dodged that. Considering this is a story that I believe is in both Christianity and Judaism. I believe Moses exists in both. This is an Old Testament story, if I'm right. Obviously, my Bible class is not deep, but so it's not just one side that they're aiming towards. And I don't know, that's it. That's all my thought. I mean, the cast sings well. They're all good singers. It's fine. It's not necessarily my favorite musical in the world. I didn't start picking up some new bangers from the stuff that they wrote out, which is possible. I actually like the Mean Girls musical, and I think there are some really fun songs in that obviously were not in the movie. And other shows have expanded their repertoire when they go from film to stage that were musicals, like Frozen. I think Monster is a great song in Frozen. So it's possible to write one. I just don't really think that happened here. This is fine. I always grade these types of things, since they never have audio description, except for like Come From Away in Hamilton, um, based off of whether or not I think you'll get more listening to the cast album or watching the show. And to be totally honest, I think you just watch the damn Dreamworks movie. This doesn't even make a case as to why you should watch this version or even listen to the live cast album at all. It never it never beats the original, um, and with its lack of accessibility, uh, I I have no real reason to tell a blind and visually impaired community that this is exactly the kind of thing that they need to be watching. So, unless you're deeply interested in what this specifically looks like, I would leave this with my grade, which is unwatchable. An exercise in the fact that we should have accessibility. There's no pass I can give to this. Um, this music is on the cast album. There aren't that many scenes with dialogue to give you context, but if you want context, there's actually a previous iteration of this that likely has audio description, The Prince of Egypt. I don't know that it does. I haven't watched it in at least 20 years. But if it does, then watch the cartoon. It's the same thing, but better. With less filler numbers in there. So, anyway, that's it. It's weird when they try to do things too that should belong in an animated cartoon, you know? And then they're like, oh, this will work on stage. We'll keep this moment. There's a moment where Moses falls down a well after trying to, and they have to like lift him up and raise it and fall. And I'm like, this works in a cartoon. Feels weird when you put this in a live action show. You know, like you have to have a set piece. I without the audio description, I didn't know exactly how it worked, but there's dialogue about it. There's a girl who's like, he fell down the well, you know, and it's just, I mean, it works in a cartoon because cartoons do goofy things like that for kids. In a show like this, where you feel like you're trying to like maybe not make it for like the under 10 crowd, it just kind of feels out of place. It's sort of like, all right, well, there's that. And then they do a joke where he's like almost up, and then they find out who he is and they let him fall. You know, it's like, okay, well, this humor doesn't match anything else you've done in this show, and won't match anything else you do after it. So it feels like you saw something in the movie that you wanted to keep, and you tried, and it's odd. So just pick something else. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. You can go to my website, macthemovieguy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at macthemovieguy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.